Greetings, adventurers. We are out here in the desert this morning so that I can document a little experiment I am doing. I'm going to be testing 5 different pairs of shoes today, and that is because I still haven't really quite figured out what my new desert kit is going to be. And since custom start from the ground up, I figured why not start with the shoes. So the hike-in so far at the time of filming this, I have been wearing the Vivo barefoot boots. I know I really like them. They do feel very sturdy, they're comfortable, and their grip is good. But because they're technically made to be used in the winter, they're lined with fur. So I'm not like, my feet aren't overheating, but I am overheating, and I kind of feel like maybe a lighter shoe even would maybe help alleviate the problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch now and continue to hike in until I find a spot to just sort of make camp and experiment with. And so I think I'm gonna switch to, I'm just gonna go in the order of how I made the shoes. I made all of the shoes except for the Vivo barefoot shoes that I'm gonna be testing today. So I think I'm gonna go for the moccasins next, and we'll see how these go. I have a feeling I'm not gonna love wearing these out in the desert, actually. So while I'm walking, I think I may have done a little bit of an oopsie because I think I actually wanna be up there and not down in this ravine. My thought process was that I might get a little bit more shade while I'm walking down here, but I'm not sure I'm gonna get where I'm intending to go. I do see footprints down here though, so hopefully it all leads to the same place. But if not, it's gonna be sort of an exploration for me too. Quick thoughts on the moccasins. They're surprisingly grippy on the actual stones themselves. The problem is the way that I made them. I put a extra piece of leather on the inside as sort of an insole, but I did it with the skin side up, which I wouldn't recommend doing it that way, because when you're wearing socks, specifically, if I were barefoot in these, maybe it would work. Because I'm wearing socks, the cloth of my socks is just sliding all over on the inside of my shoe because the bottom of the inside of my shoe is so smooth, and I don't like it. I haven't ever liked it, and I just haven't fixed them. So if I wanted to do that, I could easily, but I've got other shoes to try. I do want to say though that switching into my moccasins from the Vivo Barefoots, just because the Vivo Barefoots, that model is made to be worn in the winter. They're like literally designed to be worn in cold weather. They have like a separate insole that goes in that's like got a good R rating. It's thermal protectant or whatever it is. Like it's meant to be worn in very cold weather, and they do great in cold weather. Switching into the moccasins, my body temperature dropped like instantly because they breathe a little bit better. So that's good information to know. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna make it in the moccasins though, with my feet sliding around in them, because I really don't like it. So I guess we're just gonna keep going that way. This seems like as good a spot as any to switch these out. It's not the end of the world how much my feet are sliding around. Like I can walk in them, it's just there are alternatives and I would prefer them. Also, these laces are ridiculous. Look at how long these are. Unless I fix these, I mean, honestly, I am surprised by the amount of traction that they have, at least just walking around here. Unless I fix them, they're probably not gonna be my top pick. Now, they do take up a fair amount of space when they're all bundled up. I mean, not as much as these do, because as much as these are barefoot shoes, they don't fold down super well just because the uppers are so thick. But these do take up a fair amount of space. Now, maybe how much space a shoe takes up when you're packing it isn't like a consideration most of the time, just because you're gonna be wearing your shoes, not really gonna be packing them. I suppose you could take like a backup pair of shoes if you didn't want to have to repair yours on the road. So that might be a consideration, but it's also if you're packing to go to an event of some sort and you're going to be wearing different shoes, but you need space when you're traveling, that is a consideration, I suppose. These take up so much less space. These are the Augsburg style turn shoes that I made a little while ago. I've been using them for a while. They held up very well. The soles on these are much thinner because those other ones are 3 different layers of leather. There's a very thin layer And then there's an insole that's like probably 4 to 5 ounces, and then an outsole that's much thicker that I just sort of glued and roughly sewed on there. So they are thicker. These are much thinner soles, so we're gonna see how these do. I like lighter shoes now that I've started to wear them. These ones also just fit my feet better because they are newer by comparison and they haven't stretched out as much. The nice thing about these though is that they do protect my shins more from brush and such, although that's never really been like an actual issue I've had to contend with. Like I've never been wearing other shoes and then like scratched my shin on a bush and been like, ah, I wish I had been wearing longer boots. Now, because these are a turn shoe, the outsole, the bottom of the foot, is the same as the way I did the moccasins, where the skin side is down. So theoretically, I shouldn't really have a lot of traction, but these ones surprised me actually. I think it's because I'm walking on mostly sandstone right now, and sandstone itself has a pretty gritty texture, so it's probably overcompensating for the shoe. If everything was wet, probably a completely different story. But the difference with these ones is because it's a single layer, that means the suede side of the leather is on the inside of the shoe, which gives me a lot more traction on the inside of the shoe, because there's traction that happens here, and then there's how your foot connects to the shoe. So I do like these ones better, just like in practice. I'm gonna get the inside of my bag all dirty now and pack everything away, and then we can keep going. So, a few things have been made abundantly clear to me. The first one is that, so I came out here at like 8:30-ish, and it's past 10 now. So I've been out here for a while, and I do not know where I am. I'm not lost in the sense that like, I can go back the way I came, and I know I'll like get back to my wagon, but I do not know. I no longer know what my intended destination is, because I've done this trail before, and I'm nowhere near where I was the last time I did this. I had a spot in mind that I was going to use as like my climbing test. I don't know where that is. I don't know how to get there. I'm hot. It's oddly humid for the deserts, and I'm hungry. So I think I'll take a break. Any luck?
There's a couple of really big rocks, and I'm sure people climb over it, but that's not it for me today.
Oh, how far are they?
That's not too far up there.
That's not the spot I was thinking of, but maybe I'll climb those.
Yeah, so you can see that the wash continues on the other side. But I'm just not about that life today.
All right.
And then there is like a cool little, like, it's a very small, like, rock that comes up. There's like a little nice shaded area about 3/4 of the way there.
More shaded than here?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go there.
It's under a big rock.
I'm gonna go there then.
I have no idea where I'm going. I'm probably just going back to my car and figure it out from there.
All right. Well, thanks for the info.
Yeah, you're welcome. Not much help, but good luck with whatever you're doing. And
Thank you. Thank you, yeah. So the bad news is that there are mosquitoes, which I didn't know was possible, but they are annoying me. The good news is that there is more shade here than the previous spot, as the kindly desert denizen told me. That was nice of her. I'm gonna take a little break. I'm gonna have a little snack. And then I'm gonna go further up the wash here, because I'm really not where I'm supposed to be. Like I'm straight up like not joking with you. I do not know where I am. So I'm gonna put on a different pair of shoes to go up there and see what's going on after I have a little snack. And then we're gonna see what happens. I'm gonna make the video happen regardless, but I do not know where I am. Other things that I've noticed, kind of just in regards to my kit, is that if I'm gonna continue to come out here with any sort of weapon, but LARP weapon specifically, I need a full scabbard for whatever I'm bringing, or everything's just gonna get chewed up by the rocks and the traveling, so we don't want that to happen. I like the turn shoes. There are lots of red ants out here, so I'm kind of happy for the extra protection, but I'm gonna continue to test out other stuff because they're getting chewed up. So now that I'm done with my snack, the next pair of shoes I'm gonna try out is this pair of gladiator style sandals that I made. These are a very thick leather sole, thicker than pretty much everything else, and they're very stiff. It's probably about 1/4 of an inch of leather on these, so definitely a lot of protection from the ground. I'm not sure how they're going to perform in terms of how comfortable they are because they're very hard. But I experimented with essentially patterning the bottom of the shoe in the hopes that it would give me more traction, though honestly, I've been very happily surprised. An ant is crawling on my foot. I've been very happily surprised with just the regular leather soles and how they're performing out here so far, so that doing that might not have been entirely necessary. So I guess we will see. Wow, there's... Yeah, note to self in the future, we do not want to be adventuring in the wash. It is wetter because it just rained. There are way more bugs than I want there to be. The partial opportunity for shade was just simply not worth it. Okay, I put on the gladiator style sandals and started to walk in that direction, and I had to come back because I do not like them. I like elements of them, but I sort of gave up towards the end of making these and didn't really come up with a good strap system, but they are really stiff. And it's not the stiffness of the sole that I have a problem with, actually. I didn't mind that. And honestly, the pattern that I did on the bottom actually really does help with traction. And the way I did that was I just took like a leather design stamp. I just picked one that I had. It's like used for back patterning or something like that. It's not like one of the main design tools, but it's like to fill in spaces around a design. So there's like some shading. Put the name if I remember what it's called. So that really did help with traction, like a lot, noticeably so. But the upper, like the actual straps, I can't even get these things off. I really don't like how I made these. I may be able to salvage them, and it also just may simply not be worth it. But I had to come back because I like couldn't walk in them. Yeah, surprisingly, it wasn't the thickness of the sole that bothered me. It's this part that just feels way too stiff. The traction made me feel very confident, actually, though. Like I would go climbing with that sort of traction, but I would not go climbing in these sandals specifically because they just do not feel intuitive or secure on me. That, and just given the shape and the structure of these, they're difficult to pack without like breaking them. They were also kind of difficult to figure out how to make. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump to the final pair of shoes that I brought to test, and these are sort of minimalist Huarache style sandals. They're popular in the barefoot shoe community, but they're I'm assuming they're from some Latin American country, but they look a lot like Greek sandals as well. I mean, like it's such a simple design. It's literally a single thick piece of leather. This is probably 12-ounce leather, cut to the shape of your foot, and then it's just laced on with a single cord. I think it's really clever. I really have liked wearing them around the house. Because of this design, the skin side is what your foot sits on, and the suede side is actually on the bottom, which may actually provide some pretty good traction. So I'm gonna put these on and see how they do. I've got so many shoes. So I wanna briefly explain why I'm even considering sandals versus boots. Well, one, if I'm going to transition into becoming a desert ranger, a desert nomad, essentially, rather than a forest ranger, that does require some adjustments, and many people suggested that I look into some actual desert cultures. And it just so happens that I've had sort of a fixation recently on ancient Greece. So I'm just sort of experimenting to see what I can find. That's a little bit why I've only brought the short sword out today, is because that's kind of more what they would have carried in not the medieval period in Europe, but rather the classical or Hellenistic period in the Mediterranean. The other thing is it's practical. Something that I've just come to accept is that boots cannot be waterproofed ever, unless they're like literally rain boots or something. If they're made out of leather, it is impossible to get them to be waterproof, and trying to do that is setting myself up for disappointment, because it's just not doable. It doesn't matter how much wax I apply to them, water will get in. It's just part of the design. It's not avoidable. And so there in Utah where I live, there are a lot of wet canyons, which if I go rappelling or canyoneering, I'm going to get wet no matter what I do. And that has led me to think, well, okay, so these are gonna get wet on the inside no matter what. There's nothing I can do about that. So the solution then, I mean, like if you submerge them in water. And we know that this has always been true because in historical times, if people wanted to avoid getting their feet wet and they wanted to avoid getting their shoes soaked, they would wear what are called pattens, or whatever the culture's equivalent of that is, which is a wooden stilt to keep you up off of the wet ground. Obviously, if you're just gonna be walking around and it's raining a little bit, they're gonna be okay if you waterproof them. But if you're like actually like wading through a stream or something, and you might say, well, Kramer, just don't wade through a stream then. It's like, go on an adventure. You may not have a choice. And when you're in a wet canyon, in a slot canyon, like you cannot avoid getting wet sometimes. And that means that you're gonna be uncomfortable. So the solutions are to either bring multiple pairs of socks, and just try to keep your feet dry that way, even though the shoes are wet, or I can try wearing sandals. And if they perform equally to these, then that starts to look really attractive, because then it doesn't matter if my feet get wet, because they will dry almost instantly, because I'm not having to worry about wet cloth or anything like that. It's just my exposed foot. Now, walking over here to this area where we are gonna do a little bit of climbing, as I promised, nothing like crazy. I'm not gonna be doing parkour out here in the desert, but I just wanna sort of see how confident I feel. What I noticed while I was walking over here in the sandals was, one, the grip is actually very good with the suede side of the leather on the ground. That was expected. I am finding myself walking more gingerly in these than in these, even though the soles are the same thickness, simply because, I mean, like this very soft upper is not going to, it'll protect me from like superficial scratches, but if I like kick a rock, I'm gonna get hurt no matter what shoe I'm wearing, whether it's these or the sandals. But I found that just having the upper contain my foot more provided sort of this placebo effect, maybe, that like my foot was safer and I was like willing to just take more risks. I'm a little bit more gingerly in the sandals so far. To be fair, I've only had them for like 5 days, so I haven't had a lot of experience in them, and that may change as I begin to become more confident in them and in my abilities in them, and like what it is that they're capable of and what they're not capable of as I'm starting to take more risks. And so that's a little bit what this experiment is for. We're gonna keep it short. I'm only gonna test these sandals and these turn shoes. I'm not even gonna bother with the moccasins because I know that, well, one, they've got the same sole as these ones, so it's not really worth testing that, because if I test these, I'll know how those will work. And I just know that if I put socks on and put my feet in those, they're gonna slide around and I'm just not gonna wanna do anything in them. And I am gonna try these ones barefoot, just to see, mostly to avoid having to put socks on and take them off again. It's hot out and the mosquitoes are really annoying, so I'm gonna do some small tests here, and then I think I'm gonna try to find my way back home, because I have a feeling it's probably like 11:30 now at this point. It's 11:20. I was really close. So for these climbing tests, I'm gonna take the sword off and just leave it here in the shade, not in the direct sun, because I don't want to damage it. But I also don't want it to get scratched up if I take a fall or something like that. So a simple test I like to do is if I can stand on a relative incline and walk up and down without slipping and sliding all over the place, that's a pretty good sign. And I can do that here, so that's pretty good. Camera, it's probably difficult to tell whether or not this is actually steep. It's not that steep. I mean, some of these rocks are at like probably a 30-degree angle. Nice, it's pretty good. Oh, almost slid there and died. Honestly, the thing about these sandals that I like the least at the moment is just that these very thin cords are digging into my toe and it kind of hurts. But aside from that, I almost don't know if I want to try this in the turn shoes, because these are pretty sandy rocks right here. Okay, here are the turn shoes. They definitely feel like they're gonna slip a little bit more. I don't know if I want to just jump onto this. I'm realizing that since I don't know where I am, no one else knows where I am. If I hurt myself, don't try this at home, kids. Yeah, okay, so, that was kind of scary. The camera probably didn't pick up, but I don't want to be doing this way. Okay. All right, so my feet are hotter because they're in boots, even without socks. My toes definitely feel freer because I'm not having cords wrapped around them to keep them on my feet. But the fun thing about the sandals is they're so simple that they're really easy to customize, so I can just make them softer on my feet. Yeah, the skin side down does not have enough traction to do anything other than just walk out here. So the sandals win. I'd be interested to try again with the skin side down with the stippling like I did on those gladiator style ones, but I'm not gonna try that with those sandals specifically because I just don't like the way they attach to my feet. I don't even feel safe walking in them, so there's no way I'm gonna be jumping around. So for now, I think I can definitively say that I will be going with some sort of modified version of a sandal from now on in my current environment. I mean, if I go further up north and it's colder and once the winter sets in, I'll go back to boots. What we've learned today is what people already know, which is that boots are for winter and you wear sandals in the summer, I guess. I will get used to sand and rocks sort of getting in underneath my feet. It's just gonna be part of the thing, but it's so much more comfortable than wearing boots. I got acclimated to boots, I got acclimated to the socks, and once I took them off, I do not want to put them back on. So I've been out here for 3 or 4 hours now, and given that the goal of this adventure was for me to just test out my shoes, I would say I have accomplished that. So I'm gonna climb a rock, I think, and try to get my bearings, and then go back the way I came and try to find a way home. What?